My name is Clara Jensen. I am 28 years old and I live in a small town called Riverton, Colorado. I always thought I was pretty good at spotting the truth, especially about people. I have always been the one who others turned to when they needed advice or a listening ear. I value honesty above everything else, and I work hard at my job as a marketing assistant. I believe in being genuine, but that is exactly what brought me down when one of my so-called friends chose to attack my character. A few months ago, everything changed when a former friend named Jessica decided to publicly call me a liar in our group chat. It was over something that seemed so small at the time. We had planned a weekend trip together with a couple of others, and I had to cancel at the last minute because my dad ended up in the hospital. I was frantic and scared for my dad, and all I could muster was a simple message saying it was a family emergency. But instead of understanding my situation, Jessica immediately replied with "sure," and launched into this bizarre rant about how I always exaggerate things for sympathy. I felt my heart sink as I read her words. It was shocking and hurtful when she started dragging up an old story from our college days, twisting it to make me sound like someone who fakes situations for attention. As people in the chat reacted with those awkward laughing emojis, I felt my stomach drop and my cheeks flush with embarrassment. It was as if I was standing naked in front of everyone, exposed and vulnerable, while she hurled insults at me. I tried to respond, hoping to clarify my side, but each time I attempted to explain myself, she would screenshot my messages and repost them with some snarky comment of her own. It was infuriating. I eventually realized I was fighting a losing battle, and so I muted the chat and stopped responding. I took actual screenshots of everything that happened that night, and I just let all of it sit. Months went by where we barely spoke, and in that silence, my anger turned to a simmering resentment. There was no apology, no acknowledgement from her that perhaps she had gone too far. I often wondered how someone could be so cruel and dismissive about something so important. But then, out of nowhere, about a week ago, she reached out to me in a direct message. Everything about it felt sickly sweet, as if she thought I would just forgive everything. She said she was applying for a job and had listed me as a reference because we worked so well together on that project. The irony of it hit me hard. She needed someone to confirm that she was reliable and honest. Honest. I stared at that word for what felt like forever. I contemplated ignoring her completely, but a stronger feeling surfaced. I felt empowered in a way I hadn't in months. Instead, I replied calmly, expressing that I was not comfortable recommending someone who had publicly questioned my integrity and never owned up to it. I took my time to reflect on each word before hitting send. It felt right, like I was finally standing up for myself. Jessica responded almost instantly, quickly dismissing my feelings. She told me that I was being dramatic and that it was just chat drama and I should not hold grudges over small things. Small things. I was infuriated. I sent her two of her own messages from that night, the exact words she had used to belittle me and undermine my character. I did not add any extra words or insults. I just sent her the screenshots and wished her luck with her application. When she left me on read, something inside me twisted with satisfaction. Perhaps it was petty, and maybe it was not even the most mature thing to feel, but honestly, in that moment, I was tired of being the bigger person every single time. I had always done the right thing, been the understanding friend, but now was my time to take a stand. Days passed, and every day I thought about how I had finally taken control of my narrative. I felt light and free, yet a part of me wondered what Jessica would do next. Would she come back for revenge? Would she go behind my back and tell everyone how horrible I was? Those thoughts made me second-guess myself, but I stayed firm. The waiting game was hard, but I was committed to my decision. Then something unexpected happened. Jessica came for me in the most indirect way imaginable by posting a story on social media about how she was seeking help for toxic friendships. Her followers rallied around her, showering her with sympathy and support. I could not believe my eyes. In that moment, it looked as if she was painting me as the villain in her story. A wave of anger surged through me. I was cornered, and that made all of this feel like too much to bear. How could she twist the truth like that and get away with it? I realized there was only one way for me to resolve this. I had my screenshots, witnesses to her attacks against my character, and all I needed to do was to reveal that truth to my friends. I had to confront her once and for all. That evening, I organized a small gathering with our mutual friends. I explained how Jessica had publicly called me a liar and how hurt I was by her actions. I laid out pieces of evidence, reading messages out loud that illustrated her cruelty. My face turned red as I felt the weight of everyone's eyes on me, but I stood tall, exposing her for who she really was. The atmosphere shifted as my friends looked at me with shock and confusion. Slowly, they began to see my side of the story. In the end, it became clear. They stood up for me, and eventually, Jessica was unfollowed and removed from our group. She was publicly humiliated, while I had regained my dignity. The poetic nature of this revenge did not escape me. I felt fulfilled because I had finally stood up for myself and my integrity. I did not set out to destroy her, but when it came down to it, I had to defend my character. The laughter I had felt in that group chat now turned into support from those who mattered, creating a new normal for me. After everything settled down, I was relieved yet unsettled. There was a surprising twist that followed. Jessica reached out to me months later, admitting she had sought help with her interpersonal issues. Maybe she was changing, but I was no longer the same vulnerable Clara. I had learned about my strength, how to stand firm despite the odds. I felt confidence bubbling inside me. I had faced my demons and come out standing. In the end, I realized that sometimes my greatest revenge was simply reclaiming my narrative, leaving the past behind, and moving forward with my life on my own terms.